Morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're tuning in. It's your sis Moon Magic, and welcome back to Tea and Tarot, where we vibe weekly together here on Instagram Live, do some check-ins, some updates, and just mostly vibe with the tarot. Maybe we'll tap in and spend some time focusing on each card, or sometimes we just dive right into the channeled messages and whatever's coming through. But either way, it's a great place to connect with community and strengthen our intuition. I do have some tea here today with me, as I drink a lot of coffee today, working at the schools and having to be up since very early this morning. I've been awake since 5:30 a.m. this morning. So I'm taking a little break from coffee and drinking some tea. And this is the honey lavender yogi tea. So if you are, getting yourself ready, coming to Tea and Tarot, go ahead and grab your tea, your coffee, whatever your drink and beverage of choice is. Grab a journal if that's your vibe, if you want to write anything down as we're vibing together, or just showing up exactly how you are is completely okay and beautiful either way. I have the moon deck here with us. I have the Threads of Fate Shadow Oracle deck here, and then I have my traditional deck here. We also have coming up next Saturday, we have our Celestial Eclipse Returns show here in Sacramento with myself, Soli Bull, Hayla V. We have Rashawn Bell, E.G. the Beast, and Nate and the G, who are coming down from the Bay Area with some special guest hosts who are from the poetry community here in Sacramento. This is a really exciting show because it is the anniversary show to our SAC 916 collective collaboration that we've been doing. That started January of last year, and it's so interesting how things come together, because we had planned originally to do this show this January for the anniversary, but then things got pushed back. But it worked out so well because it ended up being that now it's actually on the night of a real eclipse. So come enjoy the magical atmosphere with us and the good talent that's going to be in the building on March 29th. The show starts at 8 p.m. The pre-sale tickets are only $10, so make sure you grab those pre-sale tickets. The link is in my bio under moonmagicflows.com under upcoming shows, or just DM me and I'll send you the link personally. And then it's $15 at the door. So make sure to get those pre-sale tickets while you can. So that's coming up next Saturday. This Saturday, I'm real excited because Blimes Brixton's going to be in Sacramento at Cafe Colonial. And I don't think she's performed in Sacramento since I've lived in Sacramento, which has been a while now, 8 years or so. And she'll be in San Francisco on Sunday performing, and I have not seen her with her band yet, so I'm real excited because Blimes will be performing with her band at Cafe Colonial here in Sacramento on Saturday, and then performing with her band in San Francisco, and I believe she has another show in Los Angeles. So definitely come through to those shows, and yeah, those are my updates for this week. Yeah, the last couple weeks personally have been kind of a turnaround of energy since the eclipse. The eclipse itself has been definitely like a culmination of events. I don't know if you all have been feeling the eclipse energies. They call this time period from when the eclipse started, which would have been on the evening of March 13th, until April, I think is when the last eclipse is, the eclipse portal. And then there's the eclipse on March 29th, and this is basically like eclipse season. So it's a series of different eclipses that happen. And during that time period, it's really like a magnetic period of this energy that you're kind of, I would say karmic cycles, things that are ending and closing. At least that's the way that I understand it. So you might see things, energies that are karmic, that are, kind of repeating cycles, or, things that have kind of been an issue for a while, or have just been coming up, but maybe you haven't really dealt with it. You might see that coming to a head during this time period. Definitely let me know down below if you have been feeling the eclipse energies, because I know I have. And for those who have been tuning in on the live, you know that I've been having quite a bit of electrical issues in my house. So that's one way that the eclipse season has really been showing its head in my life. because this eclipse energy is also, from my understanding, focused on our home life, our relationships, things that are centered in the home sphere. So I think it's kind of a highlight of that energy, the way that it's kind of showing up in my life right now in my house, and with different things kind of falling apart outside of the electrical issue. Our washer also broke. So anyways, being in this little auspicious time though, I think the best thing for me has been just being as open as possible and just kind of allowing myself to be open to maybe things I haven't been open to before, and really paying a lot of attention personally to what's going on in my life, like showing a lot of observations and observing. But yeah, let me know if you've been feeling the eclipse. I see the ghost of Lee Harvey said it's retrograde. Yes, it's also retrograde season. We have Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, so all the things, right? Because Venus hits us deep in the home as well. Venus loves beauty and loves being comfortable and loves, relationships in our house and our home life. And then you have Mercury, which is all about communications and technology. So you might see disrupts in those areas, or anything that has been an issue in those areas kind of come to a head as well. It's definitely a time to be flexible and be fluid, and just like allow yourself to flow has been my biggest thing. But I would love to hear how you all are handling the energies, if you've noticed it at all. I see Brian's in the building. Salute to you being here. Good to see you in here. But yeah, definitely been kind of a whirlwind, but also I appreciate when things kind of come to a head, because then you can clearly see it maybe before it's in the subconscious, similar to how tarot brings things to the surface. In my personal belief, I feel like that's how eclipses and retrogrades are too, where it's like things we might be struggling with, or maybe we see but only on a subconscious level, it kind of comes to the surface in a way that, forcefully or gently, sometimes not so gentle, asks us to see it and to pay attention to it, and ultimately take care of it and handle it, and evolve or graduate onto the next step, next chapter of that thing or that situation. So I've definitely been seeing that. Plus my birthday is on Thursday, and I always feel during this time period that it's right between the time period where before it's really, really hot and it's really, really cold. So during this season, it's always hot and cold. Like some days, like today, it's sunny right now, but yesterday it was freezing and it was raining. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be raining again. And then I think the next day is supposed to be sunny. So it's very on and off weather here in Northern California, and in California in general, around March and around my birthday, late March. And so this time period always feels really magnetic, or refreshing, or like a culmination ahead of energy for me personally, not only because it's my solar return, but because it's also the beginning of spring on March 20th, or it's on March 21st, depending on the year. So my birthday is right on the spring equinox, but then also it's the weather itself is like hot and cold. So it's this feeling of like finally getting warmer weather, but then there's still this cold weather that you're going back to. So it's this energy of, a new season, but not quite. It's that culmination coming up. And so I always feel that during this time period. And I've definitely been feeling that right now. And excited for the spring to start, excited for the warmer weather, excited for the show, March 29th, real excited about that. Excited about stuff I've been creating. I've been working on a new album project. I've talked about this probably quite a bit if you've been around or have heard me talk about it, but it's something I've been really excited about, and been taking my time with more than I've ever taken with any project, and that's been very intentional. So I'm really excited for that, and excited for the things that we have planned this year. And it's wild because it's so much progress that has been made, yet I still feel like it's so far from being ready to be out. But my goal is to get it out by the end of this year at least. And I have some singles that will be coming out real soon. We just finished actually the visuals for one of those singles, and I'm gonna hop on a call later this week with the producer from that track and that project, and I'm really excited about the visuals for that. And shout out to Gabby, it was her birthday a couple days ago. Shout out to her. She filmed the visuals for that, and Bay God, who helped edit the video. And so yeah, new music on the way, y'all. That's been refreshing and exciting too, because as a creative, I naturally do get depressed when I'm not creating or when I'm not releasing my creations. So it's good to be in a place where I'm getting ready to release something new. But yeah, give me y'all an update. How are you all doing? Let me know down below in the live, or if you watch this on the playback, let me know in the playback. I see Brian say, love to see you doing your thing. I hope to see you in SLT sometime soon. SLT for sure. I would love to come back and see you again. I've been kicking it with Al here in Sacramento. Has a winery downtown. I don't know if you've come to visit here in Sac, but you should definitely come through to that spot. It's called The Shop. But yeah, let me know how's everything flowing for you all. How's the retrograde doing? Are you feeling it? Are you not feeling it? How are you feeling about the weather? What is the weather like in your region? Is it still snowy or cold? Is it warming up? Yeah, I always just like to do updates and vibe and connect with everybody here before we start diving into the tarot. Because my biggest intention for this space is to create community, in a world and in a place where we often feel so alone. That to me is something that's super important, is to create community and create a space to just be real human beings. Not just robots who are, here to perform for people. And I'm not talking about myself, but I'm talking about one another. You know what I mean? I feel like the way our society is set up sometimes, everything can feel like a performance on social media, or, can just be really difficult to really truly feel like you're getting to connect with someone. And so my biggest intention of this space, Tea and Tarot, and the spaces that I create within my music is to create community, because it's something that's really important to me for my own happiness and fulfillment, but also for my own belief system and the vibes and energy that I want to pay forward, The Ghost of Lee Harvey says, have you ever heard of having good stuff happen during a retrograde? Well, okay, so a culmination of things, right? It's hard to say whether it's good or bad, right? Because let's take my house situation, right? Yes, it sucks that my electrical issue is still happening, and I don't know if they actually really have fixed it yet and all those things. And it also sucks that the washer broke. But at the end of the day, a lot of the things that break down during retrogrades, like the electricity in my house, are things that have been worn down over time. So the reality is that they actually weren't doing their job. They weren't doing you service. They weren't working for you. So let's look at a relationship, right? If you have a relationship and during a retrograde, you have a huge fight that kind of breaks down communication, or I would say disagreement, right? That breaks down communication or something of that nature. It's typically something that has been festering long before retrograde, but it's easier because it's in our subconscious, or just easier in general during that time period to put it to the side, sweep it under the rug, not really look at it. And the retrogrades, in my experience, just tend to bring those things to the surface so that we have to look at it. So that could be things that happen in your family, your friendships. And ultimately, I truly believe those things are for our highest good, right? Because let's say this electrical issue, right? Let's say it didn't get handled, right? That could lead to a fire, That could lead to more problems later on from not actually taking care of the issue. Of course, I'd love for us to live in a world where everything was just perfect and we never had any bad problems that ever happened. Right? But then the nature of life is that there's life and death, things decay, things break down. So I feel like retrogrades, or that evolution of allowing things to break down so that something new can be born. And when we shift our perspective to see it that way, I would say that I would, in my opinion, state that a lot of great things happen during retrogrades. It just doesn't always feel good in the moment, but when we look back on it a couple months from now, you can be like, man, I'm really glad that person and I broke up, or I'm really glad me and my friend had that really difficult conversation, because you know what, I did feel this way, but I didn't feel comfortable bringing it up. But then during the retrograde, I just felt all this pent up energy and I just had to say something. And maybe it was a big disagreement, but I now feel like they understand me a little bit better from where I'm coming from. Or you know what, I found that person wasn't a good friend for me, things like that, right? And on very practical levels with technology, with Mercury retrograde, a lot of the technology that breaks down, like people will, you know, have their phones or computers acting up. It's typically because those things were wearing down already, which sucks because, you know, obviously I would love for all those things to never break, but that's at least my belief in how I see retrogrades, is that it's a breaking down of something that was already breaking down for a reason. And things just kind of, retrogrades, you know, slow down, appear to look like they're moving backwards, right? So it's like those things that are being ultimately like shoved in our face and slowed down to putting us in that energy to where we cannot escape it, is how I tend to view them, if that makes sense. So I guess it would depend on your definition of good or bad, but I would argue, like I said, a lot of good things can really happen, and it depends on how emotionally, you know, or physically attached you are to those certain things that are breaking down. Which is not to say we shouldn't be attached to things, because obviously we're human beings, we're attached to a lot of things. But I've had a ton of retrograde seasons where they didn't seem to be really that significant, because, you know, I would say anything that would have or could have broken down in that time period were smaller things or things that I maybe was already attending to. And anytime I feel like I have had bigger things happen during a retrograde, I've always been able to look back and be like, wow, I'm really glad that happened. Even if in the moment I'm like, this energy sucks, this feeling sucks. Doing the work is not fun, you know? The Ghost of Lee Harvey says, this whole year so far has been a banger, and I was starting to think to myself, it is retrograde, which started the 14th, and since then things have gotten good, and this isn't the first time it's happened. Well, that's awesome. And I've actually know from, you know, seeing people online talk about how they personally have always had really good retrograde experiences. So I love hearing that, you know, in terms of, you know, I think that retrogrades can have a certain lore behind them, but that doesn't have to be your truth, right? So I love getting to hear someone else's perspective on the retrograde and their experience and how it contrasts that lore. Because, you know, don't just buy into the hype that this is going to be a terrible time because everyone says that retrogrades are terrible, you know? So yeah, thanks for sharing that, because yeah, like I said, it can be a really good time, and I'm glad to hear that it is good for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and ground into our reading for today. If you haven't already, grab your tea, grab your coffee. Mine is still super hot. I'm not even going to try and take a sip of it. It's one of the yogi teas, and the tea says your strength is shared when you are present for others. I love that. And we're going to go ahead and spend some time getting present and ground on into this reading. So if you want to join me and you're able to, you're in a comfortable place, you're not driving or anything like that, and you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes and put one hand over your heart and one hand over your gut area. And we're just going to take a deep breath in through our nose. Thanking your guides, my guides, and the divine for this space today. Deep breath out through our mouth. Just really sighing, releasing. You can roll your shoulders a little bit. Another deep breath in through the nose. Just really asking that this be a sacred container and protected space for these messages to come through for your highest good, for wherever you are in your journey, that make perfect sense to you with that clarity that you most need in this moment. Deep breath out. Last deep breath in. Thanking ourselves and the divine for this time and speaking that gratitude to being able to create this space for us to show up and be present, and how important it is for us to be present and show up for ourselves. And just really asking that those external distractions be, go away for a moment or two so that we can better hear ourselves, hear the divine, and hear what we need to hear in this moment. Deep breath out. Just really grounding ourselves in. Alrighty. And I got my, hold up, let me see if I can show this. I got my Dochi candles. Can't show it. I got my Dochi candle burning right here. So this is one of the candles that I created. I have quite a few that I did, I think like 10 under the Leo full moon. I charged them and I dressed them with specific oils and herbs during that time period. I did a Dochi one. I have a Kendrick one. I have a couple of J Dillas and an Erykah Badu and a Lauryn Hill. And I think that might be it. But I had to bring this one out. This one I kept for myself because you all know I'd be gushing about Dochi over here all the time. So, all right, I'm going to put this back over here. Let me see if I can get it in shot. There we go. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and dive into this reading today and see what comes out. I've been really just like pulling and just not really thinking much about the descriptions lately in my personal pulls each day, but I want to see just what comes out. 8 of Pentacles reverse. So go ahead and take an opportunity to look at this. I'll show it to you upright. Let me know what you think of when you think of 8 of Pentacles. What do you see in this? What do you notice? What do you pay attention to? The 8 of Pentacles reverse for me has been a lot showing up as this need to, I don't want to say not work as hard, but that's definitely the messages that have been coming through of this need to kind of chillax a little bit. And that same kind of energy is coming up here of working hard to no avail. Perhaps if you yourself or the energy itself isn't really supportive in a way that you want, working harder at it isn't necessarily the answer. Has been a lot of the energy and messages that have been coming through, but I also want to pull more instinctually to see what comes up. But I do want to give you all some opportunity to tap into your own intuition. What does the 8 of Pentacles make you think of here? What do you pay attention to and what do you see? Let me know down below. You can also journal at home or just think about it to yourself. And if you're watching this on the playback, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. Community pulls have actually been like one of the biggest things that I've been like energized by lately, because I truly believe that we are cosmic puzzles and that, you know, when we each tap into our intuition, you know, we get this missing puzzle piece of something greater. So even if you don't feel like what you're thinking or feeling is important, you have no idea how maybe what you see intuitively and how it differs from what I see intuitively can really be the missing puzzle piece for someone else on this live or someone else on the playback. And I always really appreciate hearing people's different perspectives of what they share. The Ghost of Lee Harvey says he's a creator. Ooh, I love that. The creator, someone working on something, creation. All right, I'm going to keep on pulling. So, what is this 8 of Pentacles reverse about? Woo. The Lovers card, King of Pentacles, 8 of Cups reverse, and 9 of Swords, and Page of Rods reversed. So we have the King of Pentacles here, and we have the Lovers here. And when I see these cards, immediately I think about perhaps at this time period, what you're working hard on, what you've been creating, what you have been building towards, what you have been, you know, perhaps you have, like I said, this energy or this message lately has been about, you know, chillaxing, or, you know, no matter how hard you work or don't work, it's pretty much going to get you in the same place at this moment in time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't work harder, that you shouldn't try, but it's more of an easing up on yourself, easing up on the energy, easing up on your expectations. Is the message that has been coming through for this 8 of Pentacles reverse for me. And I feel like part of that message here for the collective is really important. This sense of working harder, working smarter, not harder. Yes, that's the energy that's coming through here. And specifically with the things that make us feel secure. It could be a relationship here with the Lovers card. It could be your own personal choices, your job, your just where you are in your path is what I'm hearing a lot too with this card. It's like I feel like we all go through certain milestones or chapters or places in our life, and we get to certain areas where we look back and we think about where we are, and we're trying to work harder to get to somewhere else that's going to make us feel more secure in whatever that thing is, whether it's a job, a position, a title, a relationship, etc., etc. So, and again, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but always with tarot readings, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Don't try to force a message to fit if it doesn't fit. My belief is that tarot taps into our subconscious using these images, and 70% of what we do is subconscious. So it's just a way for us to hold space for that subconscious to see it come to the surface. So when we look at these messages, we apply it to our specific situation and the aspect that it is and how it relates. Which is why it's so important that tarot reading be a collaboration between the tarot reader and the person receiving the reading. Your discernment and thinking about the ways in which security and what things make you feel secure in your life, what does that mean for you right now, is going to be different for everyone. And what does that bring up for you? Right? Maybe it is being in a committed relationship. Maybe it is having a specific job or a specific goal or a specific financial security with the King of Pentacles here, right? So perhaps there's this feeling of, feeling like you've worked really hard, but it hasn't necessarily gotten you to where you want in those areas, or this feeling of, in general, like I said, it's working smarter, not harder in those areas, is really the energy of the moment right now. Like, no matter how much harder you work, it may not progress you in those areas at this time period, because there is this overarching energy that says working smarter, not harder. So what does that mean? And the Eight of Cups here is reversed, and the Page of Cups is up reversed. So I'll give you all an opportunity to tap in with your intuition, and let me know what you think when you see these cards down below. What does this draw out to you? And when I see these cards in reverse, I see this as, it's not something you can wish away. It's not something you can escape necessarily. It's not something that, it's giving, like, you can't bypass it, is what it's giving. And I know a lot of times that can be a message that doesn't land easy, because, a lot of people want spirituality to be able to cope, or to, tarot readings or whatever it is, to be able to solve or fix all their problems. And I feel like that's the idea behind it a lot of times in mass media culture, is that these things can, be the solution to things that just put a beautiful band-aid on it. And I feel like this right here is just the energy highlighting that it's not something that you can necessarily just pray away, meditate away, wish away. These are the things that no matter what you do, there's no avail to. This is the energy showing up. These are the things that, maybe keep you up late at night, or maybe keep cycling back in your mind and your sphere. And maybe no matter how much you do meditate, or no matter how much you do the yoga, and no matter how much you go on the nature walks, and no matter how much you journal, or no matter how much you talk to God, call out to God, you still feel like these are the things that continue to kind of plague you, so to speak. That's the energy that's showing up here. And I think that's why this part right here about working smarter, not harder, is important, because there's this feeling of like, it's almost that's not the point of this specific time period in this specific situation. That bypassing the experience will not solve this right here. I hope that makes sense. The Ghost of Lee Harvey says the page is asking the universe a question. Yes, I love that. The page is, especially with this one, calling out, has always really been about calling out to the divine, calling out to asking and praying, and, wanting to receive messages. All right, so with that being said, let me go ahead and pull the advice, or how, we're being advised to navigate this energy. If this is the energy of the collective of this reading right here today. And my intention is always that these readings find those who they're meant for, and that they're timeless. And whenever you land on this reading, that it makes perfect sense to you. And so with that being said, with being in this energy that feels that no matter how hard you try to think your way out of it, you're not going to be able to think your way out of this situation. What is it that we can do when navigating with this situation, this time period, this area of our life? Because tarot to me is ultimately all about empowering ourselves, not about necessarily fixing all of the world problems or fixing all of our problems, because I don't even know if that's humanly possible. We live in a very chaotic, lots of things that go on in the world, good and bad, you know what I mean? That, there's always going to be something happening, but how can we navigate this situation to be able to give ourselves more empowerment and to have this energy working for us instead of against us? So let's go ahead and see what comes up for how we are advised to navigate this time period right now. We have the Chariot reverse, so I definitely see that as taking time to pause, taking time to reverse, to back up out of, I was going to say taking time to be still, but it's funny that I said reverse, because I feel like that wanted to come out, like beep, 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 beep. Maybe backing out of situations or areas that need space, need room to breathe, need a certain level of time and space, for whatever the reason is. Also with this Knight of Cup reverse, I'm going to pull a little bit more about that, but it's making me feel like this is in general in spaces in which there isn't necessarily a lot of reciprocal energy, where there isn't, Strength card here too, where there isn't a lot of genuine joy, genuine satisfaction, genuine, this could be something like perhaps friend circles, or this could be, again, relationship, again, a job or a project or something you've poured a lot into with the Eight of Pentacles here reversed. And I don't think, like I said, that it's necessarily needing to detach as much as it is, there is a sense of backing up a little bit. And the Five of Pentacles is here. So it's things that make us feel left in the cold, and kind of allowing ourselves to be out in the cold, because this is advice, right? So if the Five of Pentacles is coming out as an advice card, I typically see that usually as advising us to kind of allow ourselves to feel the sting a little bit of being out in the cold, because sometimes in that situation, in that scenario, you really see who is for you, what is for you, and can see things a little bit more clearly when you're not so deep in whatever it is, if that makes sense. And then of course the Strength card is here because it is giving this energy of being difficult energy to possibly navigate, giving energy that, I know the Justice card isn't here, but it feels unfair, it feels not it doesn't feel easy necessarily. And so with the Strength card here, this card is always about grace to me, and how important it is to, I don't want to say maintain our composure, but to a degree, it's giving that, like, when you know better, you do better. And when you know better, there's certain things that you just don't even bother saying or doing anymore, because it's not worth your time or energy. It's not worth even a conversation. It's not worth even going down that path, going down that same road with that person, that same road with that energy, that thought, because it's going to lead you in the same direction. It's that type of advice of like, let's not even go there. It's not even for your highest good. It's not even worth going down that area anymore. It's just going to lead to the same, burnout, crash out, same type of energy. And it's better to just leave that thing or that situation out in the cold, let it air out, let it cool off even, so that you can see it from a different perspective and see it more clearly, and see it now, and see how itself, when you take your feet off the gas, where does the energy go? Because again, Eight of Pentacles reversed. There is a sense in this feeling of having put a lot of work and energy into something and really like going hard. We're driving fast, and so I feel like the advice here is coming through and saying to kind of ease up and take your foot off the gas and allow yourself to see where it takes you and where it goes, and not going down the same road. Let's see what else wants to come out. What other support or confirmation? Let's have something that can affirm. Yeah, look at that. I was gonna say, let's have something that can affirm this message. Yes, it's gonna lead to the same heartbreak. This could be self-sabotaging behaviors, toxic, getting into the, it's given like, that one person, you're like, man, this person irritates the out of me, and then you start talking about it, and then it just like gets you all riled up, and then you see your friend, you're like, dang, this person, and it's like, that's that Three of Cups reverse. Like, it's not even that, and Knight of Cups reverse, like your energy, your time, you've already, it's not about, sometimes you just gotta let ish out. It's not about that. It's like, this is done and buried. This has already been heard. We all know how we feel about this situation. There's not a stone that is unturned in this dynamic, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, friendship, job, etc., etc. So you continuing to go down that road, or continuing to it could be engaging with someone else who is self-sabotaging or who is toxic. It could be just in general someone who doesn't treat you correctly, a job, a relationship. It could just also be like it's giving also like, how when you get older in life, there's certain things you don't do as much anymore, right? Like, you're like, man, I don't go to the bar as much as I used to when I was 21, or I don't go do whatever the behavior is. There's certain behaviors you outgrow, I will say, typically as you get older, where you're like, oh, I just don't have the desire to do that thing anymore. It's giving that kind of energy where it's not necessarily good or bad. You didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not necessarily this person or this thing did anything wrong. It's just a behavior or a situation in which you've outgrown, you've matured out of, you've realized like there's no reason to go down that road again. It leads to the same type of behavior. And again, the only analogy I can really think of right now in this moment that's coming through is like alcohol in general, where you're like, man, whenever I feel down in life, I go to the bar and I go slam a bunch of beers down and get fucked up and get wasted. And then I've done that so many times for so many years that now I'm like, oh, there's no point of doing that, because I know I'm going to wake up and still feel like crap, and it's not going to change how I feel, and I'm going to feel even worse with my hangover, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not to say that, there's anything wrong with drinking or anything like that. That's the analogy that's coming through. And with tarot in general, always look at the analogy and how might that be applied to your life, right? What aspect, what if it's not alcohol, what is this thing in which you're like, oh yeah, I realize that I'm no longer engaging in this because I know it's just going to lead down the same road. It's not getting me anywhere. There's this sense with the Chariot reverse that it's not getting me where I want to go. That doesn't mean that it's bad or wrong, or there's anything, that you shouldn't be doing when it comes to this thing, or that it wasn't, okay or good for what it was at the time in the place that you were doing it. But there's just this feeling at, oh, okay, yeah, I don't want to be doing this anymore. There's also what's coming through, and this might be a specific message for somebody here, but it's also giving the energy of like empty hookups or something like that, where it's like, you may have done this thing and you're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just no longer something that interests me. I want something different, and I know at the end of the day, I'm going to feel that same energy of, oh, this isn't really anything else beyond something physical in the moment, and even that is starting to not feel as good as it once did. This would be an example of how this energy may be manifesting in your life, if this energy resonates for you, and how it leads over and over again to the same kind of like bitter disappointment, or just like the Fool card, needing to start over, needing to look at that. Needing to combat whatever that devil energy is, that you're like, okay, I know this is not, again, it's not good or bad in the sense of like you're doing something wrong. It's from a perspective more of like, this isn't actually serving me. This is not helping me to grow or to be the best version of me that's going to get me where I want to go, right? Whatever that is, whatever the goal is, whatever your, and just in general, maybe it's just happiness. This isn't gonna serve me in order for me to be the most happy version of myself that I can be. this would be like starting a new chapter, starting a new path that is not going down that same one again and again and again that leads to the same thing. And I'm really getting the sense with this, for someone going back to that self-sabotaging energy and behavior. It's like that same thought, that same behavior, that same, crash out in your mind that starts happening, where you might spin out and then all of a sudden you're kind of, creating scenarios and situations in your life that you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was kind of getting in my own way, or kind of creating this situation. There's this sense of like, the world card is not here, but there's a sense of graduating from it. There's this sense of again, moving on to it and moving on to a different chapter in your life with the Fool card here. Anything else that you want to say today, Spirit? We got a lot of conversating. Tower card reverse. Yeah, if it's not built on solid foundation, you already know it's going to continue to fall again and again and again and again. This could be trust, your ability to trust someone. This could be, your safety, security. Going back to this, what the things that make you feel safe, secure, abundant. There is this desire, this need at this time period to start over and not continue to go down a place that has no foundation. And how in time with retrograde season here, because it's just gonna continue to make you feel blocked, make you feel in your sorrow and disappointments, rather than being able to truly enjoy the totality of life and the beauty of what's around you. And there's a lot of beautiful things that I feel that are in your life, that this situation, this, again, Lover's card here, the King of Pentacles here, this thing that, doesn't make you feel secure. Look, Two of Rods. There is more out in the world for you to explore. There is more out in the world for you to do, right? And I feel like continuing to go down this situation, continuing to repeat the same behavior, the same pattern, the same thing, right? So again, let's go back to the bar analogy, right? You spend every night going to the bar, drinking your sorrows away. Nothing's getting better. You're going to wake up and be in the same position the next day, right? And again, this is an analogy, so I have no shade to anybody drinking or going to the bar every night. You know what I'm saying? We all doing what we doing when we need to be doing it. There's a time and place for everything, right? But this is just the analogy, right? So it's like you're continuing to do that. So it's like you're not actually going out into the world and maybe trying something different. Maybe instead of going to the bar, you go out dancing and you don't have a drink. Now that's going to switch it up for you. The world's going to open up in a different way for you, right? Because you're not drinking, you're doing something maybe you don't usually go dancing. So this is out of your element, right? And maybe instead of drinking, you start journaling, or maybe instead of drinking, you're like, oh, I'm going to save this money for a travel fund, or something that's, again, out of your comfort zone. So now, because the Two of Rods is all about going out and exploring your options. This has been something that's been coming through for me personally, and I think collectively in general, is that there are more options around us than what we can currently see. And so by doing things differently than what we've done before, we can start to open up and allow those options to be able to be seen and be in our view. But when we go back to this Chariot reverse, crash out, going down the same path that we typically go through, that is Tower card reverse, has no foundation, leads to the same heartache, trial, tribulation, ultimately is like a codependent of our own trauma, our own addiction, etc., which, we all got our things that we are working through, right? This is a collective reading. This is not something that I'm absolved from either. I can see how this energy is present in my own life, right? But there is this opportunity here to be able to go out into the world and venture in new environments or places you don't typically go, things you don't typically do, and get curious about the world around you. And that's what Spirit wants for you right now. That's where some juicy's coming, you know what I mean? In a good way. In a good way, because that's where growth happens. And that's where we meet and explore and get new ideas, surrender to the divine in this process, surrender to this process, trust, we collaborate with other energy, we get introduced to things that it's also given the vibe of like, maybe you decide to go to a restaurant you don't usually go to. It's like these small things that maybe don't seem so big and significant, but it's you going out into the world and trying to open yourself up to the world when maybe you were isolating before. maybe engaging in behavior that you know is not healthy for you, or you know is going to lead to the same place. Now we're in a place now where Spirit is asking us to go out into the world and do the things that we haven't done in a minute, or the things that we might be curious about but we're nervous about doing, like trying that dance class. Maybe you want to go learn how to pole dance, you know what I mean, but you're always like, oh, I'm nervous to learn how to go pole dancing. Or maybe you want to go take that surfboard class, and you just haven't. You've always like, oh, there's always something that comes up to why you can't do it. Now is the time to go do it. And in that energy and in that space, something beautiful is going to happen, because that's you. I've been rereading. Shout out to Dochi. She's got me rereading The Artist's Way, and really diving in deeper than I did the first time I read the book. I made it all the way to week 8 last time, and I think watching her videos and hearing her discuss the parts, especially the parts that I also did not like about the book, has been really helpful for me to see it in a new way. But this gives me very much the vibe of the part that I'm in right now. I'm on week 3. Is talking about synchronicity, and how when we start to open ourselves up to the universe and to synchronicities and not just see them as coincidences, that's the way that the universe talks to us. And so this is very much giving me that same energy. It's like when you start to go out of your norm of doing those same kind of habitual patterns, habitual behaviors that lead down the same road that has not been helpful for you, that has led to the same area, the same crash out feeling. This is that feeling of going out, exploring, doing something different, going on that walk that you don't usually go on. You know what I mean? It's like breaking out of your routine. It's breaking out of your routine. That's really what it is. And in that, there is this trust and surrender to Spirit, to Creator, to the divine, that causes something new to be able to unfold. And ultimately, look at that. It wants to lift the burden. Whew. And I feel that the clarity, with the Ace of Swords here, the clarity, the lack of clarity, that perhaps if this has been a period where you have felt like there has been a lack of clarity, this going out and hanging out with those friends you haven't seen in a while, or meeting new people, or going to that coffee shop you always wanted to try but you just haven't had the time to do it, right? Now instead of going to the bar, which is going to lead to the same feeling, you're going to go to that coffee shop, whatever it is, right? Those things able to bring in that energy of clarity for you during this time period. If this has been a time period that has felt very unclear, then I would take this as confirmation that this message is definitely for you, and to sit with this message with discernment and really think about how this message and those analogies apply specifically to your situation. And if you do feel like you're not exactly sure and you want to talk more with me about it, feel free to DM me, because I don't ever really say this about a message to DM me about it, but I feel strongly for this reading specifically that if you're watching this on the playback or you're here on the live, and this is an energy that you feel like you're currently in, but kind of want help sifting through it, I would love to be able to discuss this with you more, because I do feel like this reading is specifically for someone who is either watching this right now or will be watching this on the playback. And that Ace of Swords energy, the clarity that wants to come in. So if you're feeling confused or struggling to find that clarity, sometimes talking it out, having a thought partner. I know I feel when I have a thought partner, it helps me a lot. So I would gladly be your thought partner if this energy really applies to you. I also do individual readings, so if that's something that you might be interested in too, feel free to DM me about that. I didn't put my information in the little thing, but I should do that actually. So my website is www.moonmagicflows.com. That's where my music's at. That's also where you can book readings, although you can also just DM me personally. And if you're feeling called and would love to donate, donations are accepted on my Cash App at Moon Magic Flows, but do not feel pressured at all to do it. I know we live in a wild world and the economy is what the economy is, and with all of that, I just put it there because if you're feeling called in your heart to do it, I greatly appreciate it. I'm a full-time artist, so it actually goes a long way to helping me to be able to continue to do what I love. And I've personally gone in and out of being a full-time artist and a full-time teacher, so just know it goes to a good cause and is always greatly appreciated. But anyways, not the point of what I was saying. Main point is I just feel really called that this message is particularly for someone, and I don't, usually I spend a lot more time pausing and giving us each card more attention. And like I said, this just felt like a real powerful message that wanted to come through for somebody. I see Westside Dawn 9 said, "Me will do," and I feel like this entire thing was meant for me. Holy shit. Yes. See? And I still, yeah. I feel like there's so much in here that, yeah, to sit with. I'm going to go ahead and pull some oracle cards now and see what comes through for advice. And yeah, maybe my tea is not super hot. I can take a drink of it. Nice. Okay. Let's see. Threads of Fate Oracle deck. What do you want to say? Reclaim. This card came out last week too. So if this message resonated and you didn't see last week's message, this definitely could apply to last week's message too. I would encourage you to check it out. It's on my main page on Instagram, but you can also find these tea and So if you go to my website, www.moonmagicflows.com, and go to my YouTube channel, or I believe there's a tab that says Tarot Readings and Channeled Messages, you can find it there. My YouTube channel is Moon Magic Flows as well. Basically all my handles are. But this card came up last week, which is wild that you saw me shuffle it and it came out again. So I definitely feel like that is significant meaning for somebody. Again, we were just talking about synchronicity. So definitely, if that's calling you, lean into that. But I'm going to go ahead and read this card. It's all about reclaiming who we are, reclaiming our voice, reclaiming our power, reclaiming our energy. It's giving very much the Two of Rods energy of like really going back out and reclaiming the sense. It's also giving the vibe, now that I said that, of the Two of Rods, of like, this is very specific, and maybe this is for someone, or it's just the way the energy is showing up, of like, being divorced and having been in this relationship for a really long time, and then it's like, or being like a new mom or a new dad, right? And it's like your first time going out again after that divorce or after having the baby, and it just feels like you're reclaiming who you are again. I don't know why that message came through, but that's the vibe that it's giving. It's like this reigniting that fire within you, and really like getting to know yourself and reclaiming, like re-understanding, this is who I am and this is what I'm about, and I'm putting it out there and I'm speaking it to life, and I'm pouring this energy out to myself and into the world to demonstrate within, it's given this tiger's eye, like my inner power, my inner strength, my inner resilience, my inner sense of identity, sense of who I am, really wanting to come to the surface right now. That's the vibe that's coming through with this card right here. So it says, you were born as a perfectly imperfect human with gifts, talent, medicine, wisdom, and knowing. Growing up in a culture that does not nurture these gifts creates misalignment with our highest truth. Reclamation can be a lifetime process as it continually awakens to ancient medicine we knew in other lifetimes. And soul wisdom. While there is no rule book or map for this journey, this card calls your attention to what stirs deep inside your memory. We are often drawn to places, people, experiences, music, etc. that we know on a cellular level, but our logical mind cannot understand why. This card asks you to follow your intuition, trust that desire, and follow it. Reclaim your knowing, your power, your medicine, and your healing. Enjoy the mystery and stories that unfold. Yeah, I just want to leave all that there because I feel like there's so many goodies in that. I don't even need to say anything more. Alrighty, I'm going to pull one more card from the Moon deck and see what comes out. I just asked that this last message here be really affirming for this reading and for those who are receiving this reading to be an affirming message for us today. All right, I am the weaver of my reality. Ooh, I love this. Yes. It's going back, it's giving me, so going back to that, again, that analogy, it's like you go to this place over and over again, you do the same action over and over again, you wake up, you feel the same way over and over again, and it can make us feel stuck, it can make us feel disempowered, it can make us feel like we have no control in our life, it can make us feel, you know, a zombie to maybe this addiction or this thing, this trauma, this part of ourselves that we maybe dislike that causes us to do those things, or, you know, this part of ourselves. Yeah, if we're talking about self-sabotaging behavior, it doesn't have to be drinking. It could be that aspect of ourselves that we're like, man, why do I do that, right? It can cause us to feel disempowered and feel that we can't change it. I feel like this message here is to remind us that you can change it and that you are the weaver of your reality. And with going back to the strength card, with grace, compassion, intention, time, you know, giving yourself the space and room to grow, giving others the space and room to grow, you can weave your reality. Hold that vision. Go out and explore. Allow yourself to be open to different options and different ways of things happening. If it's not working out, don't continue going down that same path road. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean you have to give up on whatever that situation or thing is. You just don't want to continue going down that same road. I feel like this message over here is just more about remembering how powerful we are in actually molding and creating our own reality, even in the times where we might feel extremely disempowered or feel like we're not powerful or feel that we are disconnected from our truth. I feel like this card is inviting us to feel that power again, especially that it came out with the Reclaim card, which is all about feeling our sense of power and connection to the divine and connection to ourselves and connections to our inner power, right? And the Strength card having come out earlier, I feel like that's really the message that wants to drive home for us today. Our personal power. We may not have power over everything happening in the world. It can be very overwhelming, but that doesn't mean that we can discount our personal power. And I feel like this is also, if you don't feel like your personal power, that you have personal power, if you're that person that you just feel like no matter what you do or say, things always happen this specific way, and these patterns or situations are very difficult to break. They feel like they are a part of who you are. I feel like this message is really one of encouragement to continue to hold that vision and be that weaver in your life, little by little. So I'm going to go ahead and read this card for you. It's number 42. And as you can tell, I really love this card. It's actually part of the inspiration behind this tarot reading, or this tattoo here. Weaver. Weaving our reality is a skill that begins on the inside. It's a creative practice that requires us to be attentive while setting clear intentions. The quality of our inner dialogue impacts how we feel and experience the world around us. I'm going to say that part again. The quality of our inner dialogue impacts how we feel and experience the world around us. The spider is here to remind you that you are the weaver of your reality. She's a special creature symbolizing awakened creativity and determination, patience and grace, there's that word grace again, when weaving her web, and the interwoven nature between past, present, and future. If you find yourself in a position that no longer suits you, now is the time to look honestly, clarify what you want to design, and begin to change it. There's that key word, begin to change it, right? That doesn't mean that it happens overnight. You have to start somewhere, and sometimes we got to start again and again and again and again for years and years and years to see any progress. But we have to begin somewhere. You're a resilient person weaving your own story. Embody it with your entire heart and spirit. There it is. I love that. So that is the reading for today. I want to thank your guides, my guides, and the divine for this space today. Like I said, if you would like a personal reading, DM me, or you can also check out my YouTube for the past ones, or my main page for the past ones here. But either way, I just want to say thank you so much for vibing with me on this live today. And if you're watching this on the playback, I can't even speak playback. The playback, thank you for vibing with us on the playback. Check out my music if you're feeling called to at www.moonmagicflows.com. That's where you can find all my goodies, other offerings there. But aside from that, I just want to say thank you for vibing with me and being here and connecting today, and look forward to the next Tea and Tarot every Tuesday here at 5 p.m. PST. And until next time, as always, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, be compassionate to yourself, be gentle with yourself. I'll see you all next week. Bye.